Real estate brokers and team leaders, in this video, I'm going to show you cold hard proof of how exactly our triple verified appointment system works and how it's different than anything else out there on the marketplace right now. And most importantly, how it's already helped over 395 plus agents fill their pipelines consistently with seller opportunities. And the thing is, I know that this is different because we are actually the pioneers of this very cold outbound system in the real estate space. So if you've heard anyone remotely claiming to do triple verified appointments, chances are that they've likely copied our messaging or our marketing. Because the thing is, we've actually been in the trenches since 2021. And while others have been busy perhaps playing copycat of our system, we have been busy delivering client results like this. So you've probably spoken with every lead provider under the sun. Maybe you've tried dumping thousands of dollars into paid ads, or buying Zillow leads, or working with generic ISA companies, or maybe dancing on TikTok trying to get leads on social media, or sending cold mailer campaigns. And maybe they worked for a bit, maybe they didn't. But at the end of the day, you know that all you and your team needs is to talk to the right homeowner at the right time so that you guys can show up, close, and walk them across the finish line and sign listings consistently. That's it. And that's exactly why we don't do any ad spend, no long-term contracts, or any typical retainers. We have a 3-layer qualification system called the triple verified appointments system that delivers seller opportunities directly to you for $350 each. Here's how it works. So step 1 is actually preparing for the hunt. So in this step, we analyze property records, equity positions, ownership timelines, and more parameters to identify the right homeowners who are statistically likely to sell as soon as possible. We're not buying random lead lists from lead brokers. We're actually building custom data sets for each market. So let me go into the computer and show you what that looks like. Okay, so this right here is one of our exclusive data partners. And what makes us different from like buying a list of some random broker is that this is their proprietary tech that pulls up live up-to-date homeowner data directly for whatever zip codes that we're targeting. So the way we start here is we take your zip codes first, usually 10 to 12 to kick things off. And by the way, we only work with one agent, one team, or one broker per market. So nobody else in your area is getting access to the same thing that we build for one client. So I'm going to start here with a set of 10 to 12 zip codes. And then I'm going to move over to quick list. Now, this right here is kind of the root of our bread and butter of our CataLeads methodology. And the reason is because we're filtering for off-market properties. And the reason that matters is because think about a niche like for sale by owners for a second. Those homeowners are getting called by every realtor in a 30-mile radius. And if you call them, you'd just be noise. You'd be another realtor in a very long line. What we want instead is to find the person who's thinking about selling but hasn't told anyone yet. And the goal is to get you there before the market even knows that they exist. So there's multiple combinations that we can make out of the options here that you see on the screen. But from our years of testing and millions of outreach attempts done and campaigns run, we know what best combinations work for a given market or whatever market that we're working with. So just for this example here, what we're going to do is we're going to select absentee owner. We're definitely going to exclude active auction for now. We're definitely going to exclude active listing, and then we're going to select high equity. We're going to include cash buyer. We're going to select senior owner, tax default, tired landlord, and then we're going to go on over to property, and then we're going to put 250 for minimum value just so that our clients are not getting scraps just for this sample example. And then we're going to put minimum length of residence years at 2 as a starting point. But the thing is, you could go nuts with all the filters here that you see on the screen. I'm only going to show you a few because honestly, that'll keep us here for hours. But the bigger point is this: more filters isn't always better. If you over filter, you're choking your own pipeline and cutting off the blood supply. So you'd be making the prospecting pool way too small, and we don't want that. So the thing is, we've been doing this since 2021. Over 11,000 appointments generated and literally outreaching to millions of homeowners done as of this video. We've tested what works, what kills a list, and what also the right combination looks like depending on the market. So you don't have to figure that out. That's already done for you. At step 2, the hunt begins. So once we have a list of raw leads that have been DNC scrubbed, mobile verified, and cleaned, we begin layer 1 of qualification. And we contact these homeowners through, drumroll please, targeted messaging, not spam. And we do this to gauge their interest in selling. And the beautiful part is that we do targeted messaging through a channel that most real estate agents don't even know exist or know how to use, which yet is another one of our secret sauces that set us apart, because although it's conceptually easy to understand, it's very hard to execute at scale, which only gives you the competitive advantage by working with us exclusively in your area. Now, keep in mind that the main objective of this stage is to generate leads, which means that this is only the first layer of qualification. So let's jump back into the computer and let me show you what that looks like. All right, so once the list is built, it comes out looking something like this. This is a cleaned file, DNC scrubbed, the mobile numbers verified, ready to go, no junk, no landlines, no wasted dials from our team. And then it flows into here. This is our CRM. I'm going to show you 3 real examples of how we're actually reaching out to these people, but I want you to pay attention to something important before we go into the examples, and that is that this is just the first layer of qualification. That's it. The main job at this stage is to generate leads, and I want to be really specific about what that word lead means here, because most people get it wrong. A lead is not someone screaming at your face that I'm ready to list. A lead is anyone who raises their hand, someone who replies positively, someone who shows even a small flicker of interest enough for us to dig a little bit deeper. So let's go into example number 1. This is an example of one of our outreach messages, and keep in mind we're always reiterating and improving and perfecting our script as any marketing professional should. This lead responds yes, which sounds great. They're going to get tagged as seller lead and then proceed on to the second layer of qualification, which we'll speak about soon. This is example 2, another version of one of our messaging. This lead says, call me as soon as possible. Sounds very hot. Gonna get tagged as seller lead and then get passed on to our second layer of qualification. And then this is another type of a positive response where this lead responds, how much do they want to offer? So gonna get tagged seller lead and then moved over to the second layer of qualification. So the beautiful thing here is that we're not trying to convince anyone of anything. We're showing up at the right time for the right people who are already thinking about it. And instead of knocking on one door, we're literally doing this across literally thousands of homeowners across the nation through a channel majority realtors aren't even aware of or know how to execute properly. And this is just how the first layer of qualification works. Now let me show you what happens to these leads after this. Now we move on to the second layer of qualification, and this is where our in-house ISA team, and by the way, we have our in-person office and everything. We don't have some remote VAs. So this is where our ISA team is working around the clock, sometimes even on weekends, to call, nurture, follow up on these leads to get them on the phone. And once we have them on the phone, we check for 5 key things, okay? 5 key things. Number 1 is we verify home ownership. Are we actually speaking to the right homeowner, right? Number 2 is what is their timeline to sell? We confirm when they want to sell. Right now, ASAP, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, when do they want to sell? Number 3 is their motivation to sell. Why do they want to sell? So we probe into their motivation and potential reasons to sell. Number 4 is we check whether they're working with an agent already or not, right? Are they open to hearing and speaking with another agent, or do they already have a signed contract? Because if they do, then there's no point in passing it over to you. Number 4 is property details that are not readily available to us. Think like renovations or anything like that. So we try to get those details out. So essentially at this stage, we're doing all the boring but necessary work to filter out all the noise so that you don't have to. At this point, we're at the third layer of our qualification, our QC process. It's basically our internal quality control. Every single call essentially gets reviewed before it ever hits your calendar. That means if it doesn't match every checkbox, I'm talking motivation, timeline, realistic expectations, then it's dead. You never see it and you never pay for it. And this is where most companies would have pushed it anyways, and we don't. And that's the difference. Let me show you what that looks like behind the scenes. Okay, so this is the part that nobody else in the industry does. And honestly, it's the reason our clients keep working with us for years, even though we don't have any contracts or commitments locking them in. They just don't leave. And this is why. This is our internal quality control process, like our internal Slack channel, right? I'm not hiding anything. Every call that gets booked gets reviewed before it ever lands on your calendar. And I want to show you a real one that got rejected, because this is where most other companies would have just pushed it through, taken your money, and left you to figure it out in the meeting. So look at this one here on the right here that I pulled up as an example. $800,000 property, off market, guy said 3 months. On paper, looks great. But when you actually listen to the call, which our QC manager here did, and as they should, the property is co-owned with an ex-partner. He needs a lawyer involved before anything moves, and he got emotional and volatile mid-conversation. So what do? Any other company that would send this to your calendar and charge you for it, we stopped it and marked it as a callback, and our client never saw it. They never paid for it. End of story. So now let me show you one example of one that made it through. Let's see at Nicholas here. So Nicholas' family outgrew the home, financially ready, no agent, clear timeline, open to an off market. Our ISA team even scored this call a 10 out of a 10. internally during QC review. This is what lands on your calendar, full context, real motivation, and no surprises. And that's the difference between us and everyone else, because although we could make more money pushing bad appointments through, we don't, because we'd rather have a client for 3 years or even longer rather than just a quick payday. And so this is our third layer of our qualification system, which is our QC process. As you can see, only the highest quality seller opportunities make it to your calendar. We schedule them directly and provide you with full context about their situation. And as a result, you can get listing opportunities that look like this. So for example, we have Raul B here with a $914,000 home, and he wants to sell because he wants to relocate back to his home country with a potential timeline to sell of 3 to 6 months. Then we have Keith L with a $652,000 home, and he's doing renovations and is thinking about selling with a potential timeline of 1 to 3 months to sell. And then lastly, we have here Rachel T with a $348,000 home, and she was already thinking about selling before our team reached out, as you can see here in the notes, which means we got there in the nick of time. And her timeline to sell is anywhere between 1 to 3 months. And as a result of these kind of triple verified appointments, you are left with a big ol' smiley face. And this is exactly why our agents are able to get results that look like this. Jodi generated over $5.14 million in volume in just 4 months. Or Adam, who did $1.25 million in sales in 3 months. Or Brandon, who got 3 listings in 25 days. Or any of the other countless success stories that you see on screen now. If so far this sounds like what you're looking for, then I want to invite you to a free demo call to see if we're a fit. Down below, you'll see a calendar where you can book that call in now. On this call, we're going to take a look at your business, find the gaps in your marketing, and if it works out between us, then awesome. We're going to show you exactly how to get these appointments for $350 each with no ad spend, no retainers, no long-term contracts. But also at the same time, if it's not for you, then no worries at all. We're going to wish you the best of luck, because sincerely, we want to make sure that this is a good relationship. So if it doesn't work out, then, there's not going to be any hard sell. Regardless, you're going to leave this call with a lot more clarity on what to do to bring in more listings. So again, down below, there's that calendar. If this is something that you'd like to learn more about, please book in a time and I'll see you inside.